What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the Daily Walk with Lance. This is where I take my morning Bible devotional, I record it and I upload it, and I share it with you guys. Like I say before every video, don't view me as a spiritual leader, pastor, prophet, nothing like that. I'm just average Joe trying to show other average Joes that if you'll even incorporate 20 minutes a day into the Bible, you'll start learning more. You'll learn God's will. You'll learn what is God's gentle nudge in the right direction, because yes, he can speak directly, but most of the time it's this nudge in the right direction, and it's hard to figure out if that nudge is the correct path or not if you're not in the Word. If you're in the Word, you learn what is a temptation and what is God pushing you in a direction. And but also, don't rely on any pastor, content creator. Don't rely on us for your study. You should be in it yourself, and that we should be talking about it in our content and in our daily lives. And that's how we figure out how to live the best way possible. And, like I said, you won't know if someone's purposefully leading you astray, like a false prophet, if you don't have discernment. And you can't get discernment if you're not in the Word. So, and I'm not saying just because two people think one verse means something and the other one thinks it means a little bit something else. I'm not talking about that kind of false prophet. I'm talking about someone who is purposefully leading people astray, like calling sin not sin, that kind of thing, or taking verses out of context, taking a verse but not the whole paragraph or not the whole chapter. You don't know when they're purposefully editing things out because they have a hidden agenda. Where any honest content creator should just be saying, hey, this is the Word, this is what I think it means, this is what other people think it means. That's a real talk, a real trying to figure things out. And like I said, if you're not in it yourself, you don't know where these selective edits have been made. And it's easy to pull a verse out of context if you don't know the whole thing. But today, let's just get pretty much right into it. This is the Bible devotional. What is today? The 21st. This is the Bible devotional for April 21st. As always, I'm in the New American Standard Bible. We are back in the book of 1 Corinthians, because we were in Corinthians yesterday. But we're back in it today, chapter 13. I'm just going to do the whole chapter. It's only 13 verses. But this is what love is. This is what we should strive for in love. And it says, if I speak with the tongues of mankind and of angels, but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and know all the mysteries and all the knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. And if I give away all my possessions to charity, and if I surrender my body so that I may be glory, but do not have love, it does me no good. Love is patient. Love is kind. It is not jealous. Love does not brag. It is not arrogant. It does not act disgracefully. It does not seek its own benefit. It is not provoked. It does not keep an account of a wrong suffered. It does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. It keeps every confidence. It believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, but if there are gifts of prophecy, they will be done away with. If there are tongues, they will cease. If there is knowledge, it will be done away with. For we know in part, and prophecy in part. But when the perfect comes, the partial will be done away with. When I was a child, I used to speak like a child, think like a child, reason like a child. When I became a man, I did away with childish things. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will know fully, just as I also have been fully known. But now faith, hope, and love remain. These three, but the greatest of these is love. Again, that is 1 Corinthians 13, the whole chapter, verses 1 through 13. And like I said, it's just describing love and how we should treat each other. This goes back to the whole treat other people the way you want to be treated. You don't want to make one mistake and lose someone out of your life for good. Like, and I understand there comes points where you got to show tough love and things like that. But at the heart, even of the tough love, it needs to be to try to help that person, not to just write people off. Unless God tells you to, because if they have a hardened heart and God wants you to move on, he'll find a way to tell you. But you should still be praying for that person, hoping that person comes around. Just because you're not one-on-one with them, or even once a week with them or something anymore, you should still be praying for them, for their outcome to be that they come back, that they soften their heart. And this is something I struggle with, as someone, like, I like competition. That's why I still play softball to this day. I love the competition. And it helped me grow, but now I have a new purpose in it. It's, yeah, I like the competition, but also we need to be witnesses for God out there. That we need to show people that, yeah, even though Christians tend to fall short in a lot of ways, we all fall short. Nobody's perfect. Jesus was the only perfect one. Job was a great man, but he wasn't perfect. He wasn't Jesus. He wasn't the Messiah. And that's the same goes for every other human. There, sure, have people lived a decent life? Oh yeah, but it's not about a decent life. It's about a relationship with God. And if you notice, that's why God uses so many people in the Bible that weren't perfect people. Whether it was Saul who became Paul, or it was King David who, went after one of his friends' wives, and or Noah who got drunk after the flood, or like, he used imperfect people on purpose, because a lot of times it's the old saying, oh, how's it go? Basically, I'm forgetting how it went, but the basic understanding is that wild spirit, if you can get it on the right track, it's going to do so much. Like, it God will purposely use somebody who's in a bad situation and say, if they could come out of that, what's your excuse? If Job could endure, what's your excuse? If Noah could take criticism for, it took like 150 years to build the ark. So 150 years? Could you handle 150 years of people calling you all kinds of names and stuff? But because God gave you a mission and you're sticking to that mission, like, and then, Mark was a tax collector. Luke was a physician. Like, Moses had a temper, and would have he deleted somebody, and all these men were imperfect in their ways, but God was still willing to use them because they were willing to be used. That they were just crazy enough that they would fully commit. That they weren't that guy who pretty much, Judas is kind of the perfect example. He was like 75% sure, 80% sure, and he let that little bit of doubt keep him from fully becoming what he could have been. But that's the difference between him and Peter. Peter made his mistake, and then Peter got on fire for God. And I truly believe if Judas would have made that same choice that Peter did, he would have gotten back. He would have been saved. But God, He's all-knowing, all-present, all-powerful. He could look to see someone's future, whether or not there's any paths back. And unfortunately, He saw that Judas didn't have a path back, but Peter did. And they both did the same thing. They both denied Christ. They both betrayed Him. Like, well, unless you want to, Judas betrayed Him a little bit more because he was the one that went and got the 30 pieces of silver. But at the same time, I think if Judas would have truly repented and turned and admitted his mistake, he would have found his way into heaven. But as we know, Jesus said it would have been better if he had never been born. So, while we aren't the ultimate judge, We can see if someone has fruits or not, if they're living, the same thing as they're saying. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to judgment, that's between them and God. All we can do as Christians is plant the seed, hope it grows further down the line. Because sometimes that you'll plant the seed and you won't see the progress that person makes, but 5 years later, that person's a completely different person because of that seed you laid. And that's what love is laying that seed. All right, y'all. That's gonna do it for me today. I think next week I might get the streams going again. I'm starting to lose some weight and I'm starting to get some more energy. And like I said in the devotional yesterday, we're the temple now, so we need to be taking better care of our temples, because we were given that privilege. So we need to start treating it like a privilege and treating our bodies better. And I'm not, whether it's sugar, alcohol, drug, whatever, we should be treating our bodies better. And if you're disabled, I understand you can't work out like crazy, because like I have my own health issues, but you can still do something. You can still do little stuff to get into the best shape as you can possibly be in. All right, y'all. And this is the first time one of my videos. If you would, please show me a follow, hit that like button, share the video, leave a comment. That's just the way the algorithm pushes content anymore. Now, obviously, algorithms can change, but right now the current algorithm, it only pushes people who get interactions. So obviously, celebrities, big business, they already have like a natural push because they're already established. They've earned that. So like most of it's going to them, and little content creators, whether it's me or someone else, we're asking for that engagement, because outside of prayer, that's the second best way you can help us. Like I said, prayer is always number one, but the second best is interaction, and do that for anybody that you enjoy their content, not just me, because all of us could use the help. All right, y'all. I will catch y'all tomorrow. Peace.